There was a time when America stood proudly as the #1 destination in the world. Tourists from every corner of the globe dreamed of visiting the United States. But something has changed. Quietly, almost silently, the world has started turning away. For the first time in over 50 years, more international travelers are choosing Canada over the US, according to the latest data from the UNWTO. This isn't just a dip in tourism, it's a wake-up call. Analysts are growing increasingly concerned because this drop signals something deeper, something more unsettling. The American dream that once inspired millions is now being replaced with a new kind of reality, one where the world prefers countries like Canada, Japan, Iceland, and Portugal over the once glorified US. So what went wrong? Has the world lost its faith in America? Or are Americans themselves beginning to drift away, chasing peace, safety, and a sense of humanity in lands far from home? In this video, we'll uncover the raw truth that mainstream media rarely dares to report. You'll hear firsthand stories of Americans who've walked away from their own country and chosen a life abroad. And we'll reveal the 10 countries that are quietly, but decisively taking America's place on the global travel map. Let's begin with our closest neighbor and now a surprising frontrunner, Canada. For many travelers today, it's not about flashy attractions or luxury resorts. It's about feeling safe, welcomed, and understood. Sadly, the US is struggling to offer those basic comforts. For decades, America topped every traveler's wish list. But now, flight searches, booking patterns, and global tourism trends paint a very different picture. And there's a question every American should be asking. Why is the world picking Canada instead? Canada doesn't shout about its greatness, it simply lives it. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver offer a quiet sense of order, safety, and ease. You don't have to glance over your shoulder in fear. You don't need 10 apps just to compare hotel prices. And most importantly, prices for nearly everything, from lodging to food, are often 15 to 30% cheaper than similar cities in the US. But even more than affordability, there's a calm in Canadian streets. Whether it's noon or midnight, people feel safe stepping outside. That sense of peace, it's something many Americans are beginning to crave more than ever. Have you or someone close to you ever chosen Canada over an American city for your travels? If so, what made you make that choice? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Because while I was researching this video, I stumbled upon something surprising. There's a quiet trend unfolding, one that reveals a deep paradox. More and more American retirees are leaving the US behind and settling in places like Nova Scotia, Quebec, and Ontario. Why? It's not about the scenery, it's about peace of mind. They talk about Canada's accessible healthcare system, how it feels like a place that values people's well-being over paperwork or profit. And when it comes to foreign visitors, the story is just as telling. People aren't flocking to Canada for its mountains or lakes alone. They're going because they don't want to be judged, mistreated, or put at risk. Tourists today aren't just searching for a vacation. They're searching for dignity. And that's where Canada delivers, quietly, consistently. With a smile instead of a stare, with open doors instead of metal detectors. Compare that to the US, where travel often comes with suspicion, endless checkpoints, and the nagging feeling that you're being watched or weighed. A recent report from the World Tourism Index reveals something astonishing. Canada has officially surpassed the US in the Global Travel Safety Index for the first time in over 10 years. In just the past 2 years, 17% more European tourists have chosen Canada over America, and here's the kicker. When young Americans list their dream travel destinations, the US no longer makes the top 5. They're not chasing Disneyland, Las Vegas, or even Silicon Valley anymore. What they want is simple. A clean, safe, affordable place to just exist. And Canada gives them that. But as surprising as all of this sounds, it's just the surface. Beneath it lies an even more unexpected twist. A country that American media often paints as poor and dangerous is now becoming a hidden paradise, especially for Americans trying to stretch their dollars. Imagine this. You could spend a whole week relaxing in this country for the same price you'd pay for just 2 nights in a cheap Los Angeles motel. That country is Mexico. Yes, Mexico. Despite years of negative headlines and fear-driven warnings about crime and safety, millions of Americans are starting to see the truth for themselves. They're quietly crossing the southern border, not in fear, but in search of something better. And the numbers don't lie. And the numbers don't lie. Hotel bookings are rising fast, and more U.S. tourists are returning to Mexico year after year. Why? That's what we'll explore next. According to the latest data from the World Tourism Organization, something absolutely shocking is unfolding. Mexico is set to become the #1 destination for American travelers in 2024, even ahead of Canada. Yes, Mexico. The same country the media once flooded with warnings about danger is now seen as a peaceful escape, more affordable and more welcoming than many major cities in the U.S. And it's not just about culture or beaches, it's about survival. In America today, even a short vacation feels like a luxury only the wealthy can afford. Let's break it down. In 2025, the average cost of a 5-day family vacation in cities like Orlando, San Diego, or New York now exceeds $3,500. And that's without including airfare. Now compare that to Cancun or Playa del Carmen. For less than half that amount, you get hotel accommodations, buffet meals, a private beach, massage services, and even seaside tours. This isn't just a deal, it's a completely different lifestyle. That's why in travel rankings like Best Affordable Destinations for 2025, Mexico doesn't just appear, it dominates. And it's not because it's cheap. It's because when you're there, you feel respected, welcomed, treated with kindness, not as a dollar sign. Take, for example, the story of two elderly women from Arizona. They once dreamed of retiring in sunny Florida. But as housing prices skyrocketed beyond reason, they made a bold move to Lake Chapala, Mexico. Now, they live in a peaceful home by the lake, they have a maid, enjoy fresh meals, and still spend less than what a basic nursing home in California would charge. They didn't just save money, they gained a new chapter of life with dignity and joy. Have you or someone you know made a similar choice? If you've ever traveled or moved to Mexico, or considered it, share your story in the comments. These real-life experiences are powerful. They can open someone else's eyes to options they never thought were possible. What's even more interesting is a recent rise in online searches from older Americans looking up terms like, "Why are Americans choosing Mexico over the U.S. for vacations?" It's almost like people are beginning to admit, quietly and perhaps painfully, that modern America no longer feels like a place to rest. It feels like a place to survive. And for many, that's no longer enough. If this shift surprises you, if it makes you question what else might be changing beneath the surface, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more to uncover. Because if you think only neighboring countries like Canada and Mexico are replacing the US on the global travel map, just wait. The next countries may surprise you even more. You might be surprised to learn that a small country tucked away on the western edge of Europe, once overlooked and even labeled poor, has now become a rising paradise for older Americans and global travelers alike. The country? Portugal. Why are so many people, especially retirees, suddenly drawn to this quiet European gem? The answer reveals more than just a change in travel preferences. It speaks to something deeper about what people are searching for in life. Let's rewind. For decades, when Americans talked about retirement, 3 names came up again and again: Florida, Arizona, and California. Sunny, warm, familiar. But now, type best countries to retire outside the US into any search engine, and one name appears again and again: Portugal. Often in the top 3, sometimes even at the very top. How did a once-forgotten corner of Europe earn such a beloved status? Locals call it something beautiful, the place where older people find themselves again. In Portugal, retiring with just $1,500 a month, a near impossibility in America, is not only realistic, it's comfortable. Imagine this. A retired couple living in Lisbon told reporters they rent a modest home, eat well, take long seaside walks, sip coffee in local cafes every morning, and still spend less than $1,500 a month in total. Healthcare is affordable and decent, the streets are safe, and the people? Warm, genuine, and welcoming. Now compare that to the US. With the same amount of money, you might not even be able to cover half the rent on a tiny studio in San Francisco or New York, let alone eat, breathe, or live in peace. That's why more Americans, especially those nearing retirement, are quietly searching for options abroad. And more, they're landing on Portugal. Not just because it's cheap, but because it offers something that's becoming rare: a slower life, a kinder life, a life that feels real. Take Linda, for example. She was a schoolteacher from Ohio. After losing her husband, she realized her pension and health insurance wouldn't cover even the basics. So she made a choice many would call bold. She moved to Faro, a small city in southern Portugal. She says, "For the first time in years, I felt heard. I felt human. No one asked for a bank statement. They just asked, 'Are you okay?'" That moment changed her life. Have you ever heard of someone in your own life retiring abroad? Maybe it sounded like a faraway dream, but today, it's becoming more common than ever. And maybe you've even started wondering, could that be me someday? It's a hard truth to accept, but maybe the American retirement dream is no longer found in America. And this isn't just about Portugal. There are more countries quietly rising that are offering something the US no longer guarantees: dignity, peace, and a life you can actually afford. Let's keep going. The next country on this growing list might surprise you even more. This shift isn't just a passing trend. It's written clearly in the data. In the last 3 years alone, the number of Americans retiring in Portugal has jumped by over 35%. And you don't need a spreadsheet to see it. It's in the flood of personal blogs, growing online communities, and the surge of a single question that keeps appearing in search bars. Why are Americans retiring in Portugal instead of staying in the US? The answer is heartbreakingly simple, because in Portugal, the elderly aren't treated like a burden. They're seen as part of the community. They're honored, listened to, and included. And for many Americans who have spent their entire lives working hard and doing everything right, this shift raises a difficult but necessary question. Why can't America do better for the very people who built it? If you believe this question matters, if you think it's time to learn from other countries that are showing the US how to care for its own people, please like and subscribe. Join this growing conversation. Because what comes next might surprise you even more. You see, if Portugal felt unexpected, the next country might leave you stunned. A place once brushed off as noisy, chaotic, and underdeveloped is now becoming a top choice for not just American retirees, but also European tourists, digital nomads, and families on a budget. That country is Thailand. Thailand has long been known as a budget-friendly vacation spot, but today it offers so much more than low prices. In a world where people are tired of being rushed, watched, or judged, Thailand gives something rare: kindness, presence, and warmth. More and more travelers today aren't chasing landmarks or ticking boxes. They just want to look into a stranger's smiling eyes and feel valued. In the past, millions used to fly to New York for the fast-paced modern lifestyle. But now, they're trading skyscrapers for temples, traffic jams for quiet walks in Chiang Mai, a place where you're not judged by your watch, your wallet, or your worries, but simply met with a smile. Let's talk numbers for a second. A 7-day vacation in Hawaii for a family now averages around $4,200, and that doesn't even include the stress. Meanwhile, in Phuket, Thailand, you can enjoy a full week for just $1,500, including airfare, beachfront hotels, fresh meals, and unforgettable sea tours. One former businessman from Chicago put it perfectly. He said, "I first went to Thailand for the cheap prices, but when I came back, I realized I'd brought home my peace of mind." And he's not alone. In fact, if you search cheapest international destinations for Americans in 2025, Thailand doesn't just appear, it's always near the top. But not just because it's affordable, because while you're there, you don't feel like you're spending your life away. You feel like you're living it. Have you ever been to Thailand? Or do you know someone who has? What did they feel? What did you feel? Your experience could inspire someone who's searching for peace in a world that rarely offers it. And if you think Thailand is the end of this list, think again. What's coming next might completely change how you see the world. If you've ever been to Thailand, you probably carry a memory that still makes you smile, a moment that had nothing to do with luxury hotels or big city lights. Maybe it was a quiet walk through a local market, or a stranger who asked how you were feeling, not what you were spending. If you're feeling nostalgic just thinking about it, share your experience in the comments. You might be surprised how many people feel exactly the same way. Thailand reminds us that the true quality of life isn't about having the latest technology or high-speed trains. It's about people. It's about how you're treated when no one expects anything from you. Thailand doesn't have the polished transportation systems of the US or the glitzy store chains of New York. But what it does have is worth more. Genuine human connection. You can enjoy a delicious street meal for just $1. You'll meet taxi drivers who ask how your day is going, not just where you're headed.